What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here from DataDash, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, I want to spend some time to talk about a project that I've not only had on my radar for the last few months, but has really garnered my attention the more and more I look into it. No, this project is not another altcoin chasing the vast majority of endless narratives that continue to be crafted in the crypto industry, never really delivering on their promises. And no, it's not another meme coin. Today, we're talking about a project known as BloomBeans. And BloomBeans is aiming to focus on the original killer application of the crypto industry, building an entirely new monetary protocol for us to be able to not only store value, but to be able to actually engage in commerce and transactions and complex transaction types, even beyond what we've seen in protocols like Bitcoin or Litecoin that allow you to send and receive value. This is, in many ways, a potential attempt at building a new evolution against Bitcoin and other monetary protocols in the crypto space. Now, I want to make it very clear that before we dive into the project, as well as the interview we're going to be doing with the team's anonymous founder, Takashi Nakamoto, pulling inspiration from Satoshi Nakamoto and the Bitcoin protocol, I want to make it very clear that I understand this is a bold claim. It is a very bold set of ambitions. And I'm not here to tell you guys that this is a slam dunk guarantee. But it is something that really caught my attention. It is genuinely interesting to me. And as someone who's been in this industry for the right reasons since as far back as 2016, 2017, and first discovered Bitcoin back in 2011 because of my dissatisfaction with the traditional monetary system and the rule of central banks and fractional reserve banking, it makes me really excited to see BloomBeans potentially building something that could be that next step, that next chapter in the broader crypto space. Above all, it's something you've got to keep on your radar, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the basics here before we dive into the interview. The first thing I want you guys to understand here is that BloomBeans aims to bring one really big innovation to the broader crypto space. Beyond creating a currency with a programmable monetary policy, BloomBeans introduces a new concept known as CFAs, or crypto financial assets. It's the idea that essentially you can have these pre-programmable and predictable different types of crypto products, such as savings or pensions, that essentially are baked into the monetary policy of the protocol. So that essentially, if you are to save the currency or engage in a pension scheme or various different structures that are available on the network, and more will be added over time, you can actually benefit from the underlying inflation of the protocol. So essentially, as time passes and as the network receives more adoption and more tokens are utilized in the network, this impacts the monetary policy and allows for people to continuously be rewarded for participating in that ecosystem. This is something that's quite exciting to me because I've always been interested in more than just holding Bitcoin, but beyond that as well. Back a couple of years ago, I even worked on a nonprofit initiative in the crypto space that I headed up, focused on driving this sort of usage of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies and building incentive schemes that actually encourage that broader adoption. So we're going to be diving into all this and more as we go throughout the interview. For me, it's a project that's very exciting, and I think you guys will really enjoy the interview. So let's go ahead and dive into the conversation with Takashi Nakamoto. All right, everyone. So I'm here with Takashi Nakamoto. Takashi, thank you for making the time. I'm very excited to speak a little bit about the broader vision of what you guys are trying to build with BloomBeans. I wanted to dive in a little bit into some of the technicals, maybe ask some hard questions about what you guys are trying to build. But I wanted to start here with something which is kind of at the basics of this. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, as you guys are an anonymous team bringing this vision together, and also what led you guys to creating BloomBeans in the first place?
Thank you, Nicolas. It's a real pleasure to be in your show. I've been a long time follower of yours. So what we are doing is that we have taken all the developments in the last 15 years of blockchain, put them together to create the first decentralized financial system. We are now in a position to decentralize 75% of the most widely used financial assets and create a whole system that sustains a system with a currency, a monetary policy, financial assets, savings account, the first pensions on the blockchain, the first decentralized insurance, passive income, and loans. All of it with we are talking decentralized assets, which will have markets and loan markets for them. This is the Bitcoin target market, which is digital gold. Okay, the gold is a nearly 18 trillion market, Digital gold will be more or less the same, but the whole financial system, including savings account, insurance, passive income, loans, and pensions, that amount in our research for a 210 trillion market. This is the market we are pointing to with our products. Remember, all of it is fully decentralized. It's the first fully decentralized financial system.
Yeah. And just to kind of build on this point overall, Takashi, so the idea is that you guys are going for a much wider pool of the financial system. And I think for me personally, like when I look at BloomBeans as a project, and feel free to chime in as well afterwards, but I was curious if you see it this way. Like when I look at crypto, when I look at the current state right now, I feel that after multiple years of being in this industry, we're kind of at a crossroads where either the only thing that people are paying attention to right now is kind of short-term speculation. So think of it like meme coins, chasing new narratives in the altcoin space. But when it comes to like the place where people are actually willing to allocate their capital, they usually come back to Bitcoin. Like if we're talking about real established use cases, we think about Bitcoin. And in your guys' vision, you essentially see it that Bitcoin has tapped into the narrative of digital gold. But what you're trying to do is go beyond what Bitcoin can do, which is really at the end of the day, just kind of Bob to Alice, send and receive transactions. There isn't smart contract logic. There isn't DeFi embedded into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And essentially what you guys are trying to do with BloomBeans is not only take it a step further by having programmability and unique functionality, but it's embedded into the core protocol through the savings feature, through pensions, through all these different structures that you've created that are at its core fundamental layers within the actual BloomBeans network, that essentially are going to allow us to address a much larger market and actually be able to be utilized really as a currency in everyday life as well.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
You're making many questions in one, Nicolas, but I will try to answer. So if you remember the beginning when Bitcoin was there, everybody was so happy that finally we would have a new financial system starting with Bitcoin. People thought, oh, Bitcoin solves this, solves that. And there is a huge amount of things that Bitcoin solves, but it doesn't solve all the problems of decentralization. Then DeFi came, and in my vision, it's been like a very experimental, all these 15 years, it's been very experimental development, but I think we are stepping into a new stage in cryptocurrencies in which projects can focus more on real applications for the real world. For example, in our system, it's not just that we are substituting a financial system. For example, today's financial system is based on debt in the privilege of banks of create and loan money. In our system, is the people who is going to create the money. Okay, we have been working with Austrian School of Economists to create this financial system, and I think we are going to step into a new era of blockchain where now is much more realistic and much focused to be applied on the reality of the society. For example, we have a tax system. We have social structures to sustain. With voluntary taxation, it's very difficult that people voluntarily will give the money to some people. But in our system, our financial system includes a voluntary taxation system through a referral system in which people chooses the referral profits where it goes, and they can choose, for example, to go to education, to health through the state or through the local government. So we are giving many real solutions for real problems that blockchain still doesn't solve. In that sense, we want to bring the hope that finally it's not like crypto is going to get into the financial system, but it's the financial system that is going to get decentralized. Now we have the tools to achieve that. So we want to bring again the hope of decentralization to the whole community, because all this time I have seen the community moving from passionate for decentralization to passionate to earn money. There is no money, there is just meme coins, and the whole thing is just a mess. And everybody, we have to go through legalize this and legalizing that. No. We can decentralize the whole world, and we are going to do it.
Yeah, I think to be honest, for me, Takashi, this is something that's really strong and personal because I do feel like there's a need for soul searching in the crypto space. It's as if we've completely lost the message for
Absolutely,
what this
Nicholas.
space is about. Yeah, and to be honest, I understand as you guys have been working on this for a while. BloomBeans as a concept, it's a very bold one. It's obviously early on as you guys are going to be rolling it out
Yeah,
here over the
it's still
next.
early.
Yeah, but I think what's cool about this here is that this really gets back to the root exactly of what this movement is about, which is building new monetary systems. Money, at the end of the day, the broader financial system is massive. There's a lot of inefficiencies. So I wanted to maybe kind of hit on a couple things, and maybe along with that as well, if you want, like you could dive as well into the testnet, and you guys could demonstrate some of the existing platform that you guys have built and how it can work.
Yes.
But yeah, I would love to take a dive to that. So you guys are basically focused on building these different types of CPAs or crypto like products essentially that will allow for
Yeah.
people to essentially be able to create different financial instruments that are also directly embedded into the monetary policy of the protocol. So as time passes, there is a given inflation rate on the BloomBeans currency. And as more adoption of the network comes into play, more of these crypto products are being created and engaged in, then essentially that inflation rate is reduced over time.
Yeah, let me go through that because what we have created is a new technology in blockchain called CFAs, crypto financial assets. We are leveraging the NFT technology to create the first truly decentralized assets. You know that NFTs, image, art NFT, is not really decentralized because the NFT is just a link to a centralized location when the image is there. Or for music is the same, or asset tokenization, like real estate asset tokenization. It depends on a centralized entity. Okay, but we have created, I think, the first fully decentralized tradable assets. This is the application when you can connect your wallet, and you will see the amount of liquid bean. Bean is the currency of our financial system. In the BloomBeans financial system, here is the amount of bean. Here you will be shown its value in a stable currency and its value in Bitcoin. Okay. In this side, you will see the total supply of coins. That's very important because we have a very simple but very well thought monetary policy. So we are starting on period zero with 1 million coins, which are going to be released. And the products are going to give profits of 20% on its product. So imagine you go to the application, you want to mint a product. For example, let's go for a savings account. You enter the amount of BIN you want to invest. I placed just one because BIN is going to be very valuable. We expect its value to reach a few $1,000s because it's going to be very scarce. We are releasing just 1 million coins. And I think that this is a time-locking system. So coins are going to be more and more scarce on the system. So one BIN for 1 year on a 20% interest rate will provide you in 1 year 1.2 BIN. All right. If you have a referral address, you will have a discount for the user of 5%. So imagine you want to make it 1 BIN for 30 years. That will be 30 years at 20% compound interest per year. That will make a 237x on your investment. Of course, it's 30 years. That's something unheard of in blockchain. But we are really thinking on a very long term here. Okay, let's go ahead and mint this financial asset, this savings account, and let's go to my garden. Here you will be able to manage all your assets. These are the savings account. And let me refresh here. Mm-hmm. So here you have all the information of your financial assets. And as I was explaining, we are starting with 1 million BIN coins, and there is a hard cap of 21 billion BIN coins. That is expected to happen in around 220 years. We are thinking very long term here. A very reliable, very stable, and very well thought of system. With the interest rate will reduce slowly. At the beginning is very high to accommodate the initial expansion of the system, but it will become more realistic and more closer to economic growth in order for the currency to be stable. Do you want me to show you how to create a free of interest loan in our system? That is something I forgot to show you. Let me go ahead and create a loan. In our system, all the products, you can create automatic loans out of them, and it will provide you a 25% of the principal invested plus the interest. And it will give you this amount of currency free of interest, and you can return the loan at any time. So let's go ahead, confirm it, and the system will create 25% of your principal plus interest in a financial asset. Here you are. That's the loan. Mm-hmm. We have created the loan, and you can see all the information here of the product. And as I said, you can repay at any time at 0% interest. That's a complete revolution in finance, that you have free of interest loans. And that's only possible because there are no intermediaries in that system. Imagine Wall Street. Imagine the huge buildings, the staff there. Imagine you eliminate all that. The huge cost reduction for finance.
Yeah. And basically, it just to talk about it from kind of a high-level overview, Takashi, like if I'm getting it right, like, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, you're reducing a lot of middlemen. In the same way, for example, Bitcoin allowed us to have like a fixed monetary policy with this digital asset, and we could just send and receive transactions, making it kind of effectively like a digital gold. You guys are trying to remove the same, degree of intermediaries, but on a much larger system. And with that, the inflation in the currency, the debasement of the money, like the currency's value over time, is essentially being given to those who are engaging in that financial system. So those who are saving in BloomBeans long term, those who have, for example, pensions or insurance policies. So it's all about rewarding those who are actually participating in the system, who are engaging in the actual
It's much more than that, Nicholas, because we have created a system, an incentive system. Today's incentive system in today's finance is debt and consumerism, because the banks doesn't give you too much interest for your money. So what you do? You either buy a house, invest the money, or spend it. But in BloomBeans, the system is designed to reward delayed gratification, which is the best method for achieve financial success. So it's a system that rewards that people have savings, have pensions, are safe, and once they have that money, they invest that money. Is the people who is creating the money. It's not the bank that is creating. That's a huge difference. When you go to a bank and ask for a loan, the bank doesn't even have that money. It's called fractional reserve banking. Mm-hmm. So the bank creates that money, loans it to you, and you have to return it with a huge interest over time. So that's a privilege that banks have to create money. The government has the privilege to create money, and you suffer inflation. But in here it's different. You don't suffer inflation. You profit from inflation because it's you who is creating that money for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It focused the attention on the user, not on the banks and the politicians. Now it's the people who is managing and the financial system. They are the owners of the financial system. Yeah. So as I said, for example, for the 100 most important banks in the world, they are spending $10 trillion every year on running expenses. A normal bank spends from 80 to 90% on running expenses. Imagine to reduce that to near zero. All this wealth goes to the users of this financial system. It doesn't go to the banks. It doesn't go to expenses. Even Bitcoin, I think it has like $15 billion every year of expenditure on electricity and equipment. Okay, here in BloomBeans, everything goes to the user.
One question I actually had about that, Takashi, this kind of leads in, you're hinting towards how Bitcoin has the expense of mining, proof of work to be able to maintain its consensus and be
Hmm.
able to be decentralized, as well as the node infrastructure people run. I was curious to ask you, how does BloomBeans maintain decentralization and security? Because obviously the vision here is very big. I definitely see the appeal to it, and the interesting experiment that you guys are bringing into play when it's essentially going to be that the users can engage a much wider range of transaction activity, and along with that as well that they're rewarded for participating in that protocol. I'm curious to ask you, how do you guys go about maintaining that security and decentralization? Because that is probably just as vital in the long term.
Of course, Nicolas, we are talking global finance. So we take security as the cornerstone of the system. We are working on the Ethereum blockchain, as I said. The system is going to work there. So we have the security of the Ethereum blockchain. But in the process of development, we have been using libraries that are secure and proved already. We are being audited by extra third-party audit companies. We want to eventually be audited by Certic, but they are quite busy at the moment, and we couldn't get that. But the process is just developing the products, have a very hard testing period, and then the audit process. Once everything is audited, it's launched and it's locked. The code cannot be ever changed. Nobody can come to us, place a gun in our head and say, okay, change the code, do this, do that, create more money. That cannot be possible. We cannot be stolen. These things cannot happen. We are going to have an airdrop process in which we are going to give away 70% of all the Bing currency through different airdrops. We are going to have a first airdrop for DeFi users worth $1 million at today's Bing price, which can be even bigger. And then for those who have created financial assets, they will get into the second airdrop, which will happen in August, in which people can get from 3 times to 10 times more bean than they've been invested. The airdrop program we have a first round worth $1 million in bean. That's around 4 or 5,000 bean we are going to drop. Just go to the BloomBeans website through the airdrop, and you will see. But the eligibility is basically for the DeFi users before BloomBeans creation, and these are all the protocols that are allowed. Okay, and then we will have the second round in August. That will be at today's price $120 million in airdrops, around 500,000 being on airdrops, and we will this needs to be updated, but from March, which we have released now in March, from March to August, we are going to be dropping. If CFAs, crypto financial assets, are created in this month, they will get this kind of airdrop. Just go through the website, and everybody can go to the website and have a look to it. But basically, we want to spread the ownership of being as much as possible. We want to really democratize it and make the people feel safe in the project.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting, Takashi, because if you think about Bitcoin as an initial monetary system, the initial individuals who own a large stake in Bitcoin, of course, it distributes over time, but were basically miners who knew how to run
Yes.
GPU on their computer or eventually go purchase ASIC miners. There was this very big barrier to entry initially with getting like a decent supply of Bitcoin.
Yeah, but in that system, what happened is that many people that had a lot of coins, when they made the first 50x, they were, oh my god, we made such an amount of money. So they started to sell, and then the huge movements up and down, up and down. We would like to avoid that, these huge movements up and down, and people to be safe. In our system, you are protected because imagine you have been holding Bitcoin for 15 years. Well, in Blin, you can do it. You can create a CFA and hold on your money for 15 years. So it's designed for the long run. Delayed gratification, as I said, the best way to get wealthy in life. And we see ourselves as a Bitcoin 2.0. So what we want to build is a blockchain specific for finance with all these products and many more, and the markets and many more applications. And it's very on the long run. This is not a short-term project. I don't think this is going to fade on this cycle and then go down. We have a lot of things to develop through the years. We want partnerships to make with the blockchains to see which technology are we going to use to develop our financial blockchain. And this is a very long run project. There is a lot of things to do here.
To that point, Takashi, like my understanding, as you mentioned earlier, is that you're using the Ethereum network right now as kind of a base foundation, and that eventually this would be essentially. Yes. And one point I just wanted to kind of mention for those who might have not understood, when Takashi was talking earlier about this concept of essentially kind of removing the keys and essentially being at a part where this technology will operate on its own. It's an important thing to understand because sometimes DeFi applications have admin keys or smart contract keys, where essentially the deployer of those contracts that allows you to mint those the CFAs, those crypto financial assets, or engage in certain types of activities. Sometimes they don't give up those admin key rights, where essentially they can go and make changes to the underlying protocol. And my understanding in this case, Takashi, is that you guys essentially deploy it. The keys are said there are no admin keys or admin access to the smart contracts to make changes. And beyond that as well, in the future, this would be, for example, what you're going to deploy here in the near future is BloomBeans version 1. But in the future, you guys might, for example, have your own protocol. You might also be on another layer 1 that might be more suitable for BloomBeans, and you might launch a V2 or V3. And the way that this works, from my understanding, is that like in the same way Bitcoin had the Bitcoin Cash fork or other network forks, or how Ethereum has also had a fork as well. Yes. You guys would essentially launch a BloomBean V2 where any CFAs you have in BloomBean V1 will essentially be duplicated over to that network, and then the market decides the value of the underlying currency of that BloomBean.
You make a great point, Nicolas. So the first point is the keys. So on every product we release, is first developed, tested, audited. One, we are 100% certain the code is perfect. Then we lock the code for savings accounts or an insurance. The code is completely locked. The keys are thrown away, and nobody can change the amount of coins, the rewards, anything. It's completely safe. So what happens when you have a project which you cannot modify, like Ethereum or Bitcoin, which the code can be modified? Here you cannot do it for safety reasons. What we will do is to upgrade the system to, let's say, a BloomBeans 2.0 in the blockchain, and then all the owners of Bean and CFA products we will transfer all that wealth to the new system, which will be again locked and saved. So people can rely that all its wealth will be transferred to the new system when it's developed, and both systems will be running. So we will have the old system and the new system running at the same time, just in case the new system could have any problem. You will still have your wealth on the previous system.
Yeah, your CFAs, if you have, like, for example, a savings account, it's all code. It's going to operate as intended. It's just really the only, I think, factor here is whether the market determines BloomBeans V1 or BloomBeans V2.
It will be the market.
Yeah, and essentially, at the end of the day, you have equivalently one of each token. So essentially, as with any crypto fork, it's not something that would be a threat to any users on the network and stuff, which I think is a really cool approach. I'm excited to see. I think this first iteration is going to be I think it'll be very interesting to see how this actually goes when it launches. But beyond that as well, what you guys will see from the V1 launch that, may be missing in the ecosystem, where users want to do more with it. There might be more types of DeFi functional layers within it. But I think already, like, this already gives you so much to work with, whether it be savings or pensions.
There is so much to develop, Nicolas. For example, we want to develop a stable currency that is completely different to what we have at the moment. I cannot disclose too much, but it's going to be something very different. And from there, we can create payment applications for the decentralized payment applications, like the ones they have in El Salvador, but instead of being centralized, ones that are centralized for everyday payments. We want to develop a structure for institutions, public institutions, to manage voluntary taxation. The voluntary taxation we are creating. they could tokenize social infrastructure for the owners to be the people, not the states. The problem now we say, oh, this is public, but it's not really public. It's owned by the state, and the states are so full of debt. And this debt is owned by the banks, most of it, that if there is a crisis and a bankruptcy, the banks are going to ask, okay, where is our money? Well, how are you going to get our money? And they can get all these assets. It happened in Greece in 2000. Bail-ins. It happened in Greece in 2008. The banks got a lot of assets from the country because they were in debt with the banks that have created that money out of nothing. So from our standpoint, today's financial system, the centralized incentive system just creates so much corruption in the system. So it's so important to have a decentralized system. And I think very well, Nicolas, how important that is.
Yeah, absolutely, Takashi. This is really a great interview, man. I'm so happy we get to spend some time going through it. I remember first hearing about BloomBeans a while back, and it's exciting to hear that you guys are getting close to launching this. I know it's probably been a long time coming. And as with anything, again, as you said, it's early stage. I know you guys are probably on the edge of your seat to see how things go when you launch it, but I think you guys have obviously put a lot of thought into it. It is one of the more exciting, monetary experiments I've seen in the crypto space.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. Yeah,
and
we really place our hearts on it because we really believe in first decentralization, cypherpunk, like Satoshi Nakamoto did. We want to continue this cypherpunk revolution. I'm so excited to hear all these legal frameworks for cryptocurrency and how Bitcoin is owned by the banks and the ETF, because you see, the ETFs on gold. They don't have the underlying asset at all. They don't have gold there.
It's a 100
the COMEX markets,
yeah.
COMEX markets is just 5% gold or 10% gold, and the rest is just paper. So what they do, they manipulate the market. So what happened before is when a government or the banks created so much money, people went to gold and to silver to protect themselves, but now they cannot do it because they manipulate the price with all these paper shares on gold. They can create as many as they want and dump the price. So the banks can create the money. You can see BlackRock, of all these hedge funds, they own 70% of the S&P 500. How they get it? Because they can print as much money as they want. Of course, they cannot just pump. They have to create crisis. They pump and then dump. They pump and then dump. Is what happened with Bitcoin, and I'm afraid that it will be still happening with Bitcoin. That they pump the market. They say on the news, oh, look, Bitcoin is so good, go and buy. And they dump to them. So people sell the coins and sell to them, We would like to generate methods to avoid that kind of pump and dump in the bean currency, to have it more stable, because we are talking pensions. We are talking, it's the future of the people. And people needs reliability.
I think the fact that you guys give people an ability to benefit directly from the expansion of the monetary system, it isn't, kind of forked off to miners. It's for those who actually put their capital within the ecosystem and deploy it through some kind of CFA. That's a huge dynamic change, towards actually getting people to engage in it. So.
For the DeFi users, which they believe in decentralized finance, we are dropping to them. We would like to get to a wider audience, but we want to be sure people is not going to dump our token. I wanted to spread it to everybody, but I was afraid that many people would dump the token and the price will go down. So we just going to drop it for DeFi users and then for those who believe in the system. But yeah, sorry, I got lost.
That's okay. No. If you guys are interested as well, for those of you who made it this far into the video, definitely check out the links down below in the description if you're interested to learn about the airdrops and, more importantly, learn about how the protocol functions beyond what we spoke about here. It's definitely an exciting read, and I think above all, it's exciting to see that there, especially in a space where there's so much noise, so much meme coins, and just nonsensical things going on in crypto. I think it's really quite refreshing to see someone getting back to the basics. So, Takashi, to you and the team, I want to give my hats off to you guys. I wish you all the best in the launch.
Thank you very much, Nicolas.
We're going to continue to track how it goes. And
if people wants to go further into knowing the project, because we have just scratched the surface on this meeting. Mm-hmm. If they want to go deeper, they can go to Takashi Nakamoto's blog on Medium. Mm-hmm. to the website. There is plenty of information on how the system works, what is the math behind and developments behind. There is the white paper, which is not just technical, but very inspirational. It gives expectations to the people for a different future. And I'm so certain that in the next 20 years, everything is going to change, Nicolas. Really, really. It's going to happen. They are now everybody's focused on AI, and I understand it's going to be the future, but it's not going to be in the news. But there is we are going to go through an enormous financial disruption in the next 20 years.
Absolutely, some major shift in the monetary system.
It's going to happen because people is really fed up of today's financial system. If you know how the system works, everybody knows that it's a wealth extracting system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Takashi, thank you so much, man, for making the time. It was a pleasure to have you on, and we'll hopefully have you back on in the future as well as you guys go through some of the later phases of BloomBeans, over the next couple of months, the next year or so. So I would love to continue the conversation, see how things go, and thank you again for making the time. As always, I appreciate it.
Real pleasure, Nicolas.